The Simpsons is an iconic television series that has been the cornerstone of popular culture since its debut in 1989. Known for its satirical take on American life, the show has never shied away from controversial topics. However, this bold approach has occasionally led to the episodes being censored or, heck, even outright banned in certain regions. In this essay, I want to explore the reasons for specific episodes being tweaked or outright pulled from broadcast schedules in certain countries. And while there are a ton of scenes, there's no way I'm going to be able to cover everything, so I'm just going to be covering what I find pretty noteworthy from the golden era of The Simpsons, which is seasons 1 through 10. Before we begin, please consider giving this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more great content. Now, back to the video. The following scenes were cut for various reasons in the US. After wreaking havoc on a centerpiece that Lisa made, Bart runs away and finds himself both hungry and in a seedy part of town. In order to get a free cookie, he donates plasma. In the final product, we only see the before and after. However, in this rough sketch, we would actually have seen Bart getting his blood taken. And it was most likely scrapped because of anyone who actually might be a little bit squeamish of this process. Oh, stark raving dad, this episode just cannot catch a break, and you will certainly see this later on in the video. But for the sake of this purpose, there was a cut alternative opening in which the show addressed something very topical. For context, Bush Sr. expressed that this country should be more like the Waltons and less like the Simpsons. In this alternative opening, the family breaks the fourth wall by watching this part of the speech, with Bart proclaiming that, hey, they were like the Waltons, and they also prayed for the end of this depression. It's also noteworthy that Barbara Bush also wasn't a big fan of the Yellow family. Like any first lady with apparently a lot of free time on her hands, she expressed that The Simpsons was the dumbest thing she had ever seen in an interview with People magazine. Looking back, it does seem bizarre to think that The Simpsons, of all things, was such a lightning rod for moral panic that the president would actually mention them as if they were real and a real threat in a speech. The Simpsons would have a final laugh with an entire episode mocking George W. Bush Sr. In this episode's subplot, Bart fakes various illnesses to get out of taking a test, only he literally becomes the boy who cries woof when an actual wolf attacks him when he's finally taking said test. In the original broadcast episode, Mrs. Krabappel lists several illnesses that Bart has pretended to avoid taking his English test, one of which is Tourette syndrome. And when Bart insists he is suffering from this, he begins barking, snarling, and muttering, "Shove it, witch." This scene drew significant criticism from viewers who felt it was insensitive to mocking a real medical condition. Things really got heated when Joshua Smith, a boy from Renton, Washington, initiated efforts for legal action, demanding that the episode not be aired again and that Bart Simpson should befriend a character with Tourette syndrome, along with an apology from Bart at the end of the episode. Executive producer Mike Reese responded with an apology, acknowledging, quote, "We kind of feel like we made a mistake this time. We felt bad about this." In an unprecedented decision for the show, the producers agreed to remove the scene from future airings. However, Smith's other requests were not met. In the version released in the season 4 DVD box set, the segment where Bart exhibits his alleged Tourette syndrome remains, but Mrs. Krabappel's reference to Bart's unfortunate bout of Tourette syndrome was changed to unfortunate bout of rabies. Oddly enough, there is one international DVD version which includes the full scene as it originally aired. Speaking of, this episode features Bart being attacked by a wolf, but creators had drawn different versions, going with a less scary and violent take on the scene. During their visit to Itchy and Scratchy Studios, Roger Myers Jr. guides Bart and Lisa through the creative process behind some of the more intense antics featured in their beloved cartoon show. He tells the kids that the animators observe extreme violence on animals to get the animation just right. And then we proceed to see someone put a firecracker in a cat's mouth. When the kids leave, you can hear the cat explode. And this, of course, was making fun of Disney making a big show out of animators observing real animals to get their movements just right for The Lion King. And I have to say, out of all the scenes that were cut, I don't know, I'm kind of on board with this. It's a bit disturbing. In the clip show, The Simpsons 138th episode Spectacular, it's revealed that 2 very dirty jokes were animated but cut, but of course later reshown in this clip show. A down-and-out Krusty tries a stunt to drum up money by promising kids that for a $40 check, they could get a book of Krusty in various explicit positions. Yikes. Now, this isn't as random as it seems, as this was referencing Madonna's very controversial book, Sex. The scene ends with Krusty correctly getting arrested by the FBI for, I don't know, selling adult content to minors, to which Krusty cries that he used a stunt butt. Also, in the same episode, there was a quick scene that Krusty, again hard up for money, begs to play hemorrhoid sufferer number 1 or his relief counterpart in a commercial. A brief scene in which panties and bras are thrown on stage was removed. A pretty disturbing but very timely Itchy and Scratchy cartoon in which, after receiving a very large medical bill from Itchy, Scratchy unalives himself with a gun. An ethnic stereotype in which a sleeping Homer encounters what he thinks is Consuela, the maid, but this is actually Sideshow Bob in disguise. Here we get a very funny yet really depressing scene, which is a parody of Siegfried and Roy, in which they trot out a performing tiger. In the original scene, we see a flashback of the tiger sleeping peacefully in the jungle, only for Gunter and Ernest to dart him, and he falls asleep pretty instantly. Yet, in the alternative deleted scene, the tiger doesn't go so peacefully spasming, and it's frankly kind of unnerving. You know it's bad when even The Simpsons felt like they maybe went too far with the stereotyping. In a wacky turn of events, Apu starts living with The Simpsons, and as part of a cultural exchange, he shows the family a Bollywood film, which the family absolutely eviscerates. The scene is definitely cringy for how it depicts a stereotypical Bollywood film, but also some of the observations that the family has. While gambling with Ned Flanders of all people, Homer's trying to figure out which number to play on a game of roulette. He can't recall Marge's birthday, of course, and casually mentions that Barney's birthday is April 20th, same as Hitler. The joke is cringy all by itself, but was most likely removed after Columbine, which took place on April 20th. The line was removed and changed to a different date, July 15th, the same as Lassie. And I have to say, I think that's a stronger punchline anyways. This intact version is nearly impossible to see unless maybe there's a recording of its original airing. All reruns and the official DVD release have the new line added. The Simpsons is globally recognized. Therefore, it's no shock that humor that might be culturally acceptable in the US might not fly in other countries. The following is a sample of various international edits of The Simpsons, highlighting the cultural sensitivities and regional preferences that influence these changes. Channel 4 apparently didn't find anything funny about Season 9's episode, The Cartridge Family, and in its re-airing, cut some scenes. This includes the ending in which Marge, who has been anti-gun this entire episode, is about to throw her husband's gun away, but catches her reflection holding it and thinking it made her look sexy, slips it back into her purse. The larger issue was the comical and satirical misuse of guns by both Homer and Bart. Speaking of, there was one scene that very much stood out to censors. Bart ends up finding Homer's gun and attempts to shoot an apple off Milhouse's head, a la William Tell. British censors were afraid that kids might actually try to copy this, despite the country having much stricter gun control laws. It didn't help matters that the soccer riot at the beginning of the episode was also not well received. The episode itself was controversial among the writing staff, with some pro-gun writers wanting to push a more pro-gun agenda, butting up against left-leaning creator Matt Groening. Ultimately, the episode remains neutral on the issue, which could be seen as a cop-out. Interestingly enough, the international DVD release The Simpsons Too Hot for TV does include this episode entirely uncensored. It seems that Channel 4 also took offense to the Season 9 episode, The Two Mrs. Nahasapima Petalons. Pooh living up the single life only to get a message from his mother wanting him to be married to a woman named Manjula. Not wanting to give up this fun bachelor life, Pooh gets Marge to pretend that they are married to fool his mother when she visits, and wackiness ensues. Since Apu is supposed to be married to Marge and is now living at their home, the kids also get pulled into this scheme. The scene that made Channel 4 upset was the kids innocently but insensitively ask Apu's mother about the quote red dot on her forehead. And as you might imagine, the kids' comments on the subject are probably not the most nuanced. The scene was removed, as well as an additional scene later in the episode in which Homer, in a last-ditch effort to stop the wedding, dresses up like the god Ganesh. While the last examples were mainly about broad topics like gun control and religious insensitivity, the following scenes were edited in the UK for a topic that hit really close to home for the British people. The following scenes were all censored or removed because they mention or slightly hint at Princess Diana. In the Season 4 episode Duffless, during typical Simpsons hijinks, Homer jumps out of the window of the power plant, fearing a giant spider. Barney is waiting below with a mattress tied to his car in order to catch Homer's fall. However, Barney gets distracted by something that he thinks is Princess Di, but it turns out that it was just a pile of rags. Thus, it makes it confusing when Barney just drives off after the scene is removed. In the Season 5 episode Rosebud, the following scene is a little less overt. In the episode, Mr. Burns is playing with Maggie in the sandbox in order to bargain with her to get back his beloved stuffed bear. During this exchange, a camera pops up out of nowhere and takes Mr. Burns' picture. Burns shouts, "Damn you, paparazzo," which of course was edited in the wake of her death. Now the line just says, "Damn you." In the same episode, there is another cutscene that doesn't have to do with Diana, but it's just good old-fashioned naughty language. The Ramones play at Mr. Burns' birthday party, doing a punk rendition of Happy Birthday. In true punk form, the song ends with "Go to hell, you old bastard," which the British censors did not find funny, despite, being pretty much the birthplace of punk, and removed the line. Interestingly enough, in the Canadian version of this scene, the edit goes even further to remove anything rude that the Ramones say, which isn't even swear word related. Other countries also edited the show in very interesting ways. The Arabic dub, for example, has Homer drink Duff soda instead of beer and eat Egyptian beef sausage rather than hot dogs. Probably one of the most infamous banned episodes doesn't have anything to do with swearing, culturally insensitive jokes, or violence. No, Stark Raving Dad is currently not that accessible because the episode revolves around Michael Jackson. Due to a wacky mishap at work, Homer is deemed, quote, insane and is committed to a hospital. There he meets a man claiming to be the king of pop, Michael Jackson. This is despite not really looking anything like him. The A plot intersects nicely with a B plot about Bart wanting to cheer up a depressed Lisa on her birthday. This of course leads to Lisa, It's Your Birthday, which is a cute song that Jackson was not allowed to actually sing, most likely due to a contract agreement. Fun fact, Jackson was not credited as voicing the character and in fact was kept a well-guarded secret. It was only after a overt reference in the episode Itchy and Scratchy the movie that this was confirmed, along with other stars like Dustin Hoffman, who had uncredited cameos, which, is a far cry from how Simpsons handles their celebrity cameos now, but that's an entirely different topic and video. In 2019, the episode Leaving Neverland was released, and it sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. In a steep decision, James L. Brooks decided to pull the episode. In an interview with Slate, the producer had some interesting and seemingly conflicting things to say about the subject. Quote, "I'm against book burning of any kind, but this is our book and we're allowed to take out a chapter." Currently, you cannot watch the episode on Disney Plus, but you can still buy it on Google Play, and it was eventually put back into rotation on FXX. You can also see the episode with commentary on the Season 3 DVD. When I think about classic Simpsons episodes, Cape Fear comes to mind. It's a fun episode involving Sideshow Bob wanting to kill Bart Simpson. However, Germany, known for their sense of humor, didn't find the episode particularly amusing. In fact, for a time, they banned it. When Sideshow Bob is paroled, he starts sending threatening letters to Bart. This leads to the Simpsons becoming the Thompsons and moving to Terror Lake. Of course, Sideshow Bob follows them after facing his biggest foe, Rakes. And of course, Bob comes to Terror Lake to get his revenge on Bart. This episode is hilarious. So why did Germany, for a time, ban it? Well, the reason is twofold. One, Germany has a strict rule about depicting children in danger, which, is the entire crux of the episode, but maybe more overtly, it has to do with a scene with McBain seen wearing a, let's just say, uniform that Germany might not be super happy about. Thus, it led to the episode being pulled in the country. However, later on, the show did edit the above-mentioned McBain scene, allowing it to be aired once again. Here's another example of an episode from the US being banned, or in this case, temporarily banned. The episode makes jokes about Jewish people, the Pope, and some ethnic stereotyping, also some drinking and driving jokes, yet these were not the reason why this was banned. It was pulled, for a time anyways, because of a real-life tragic event. After a wild night of partying, Barney steals Homer's car, and it ends up in New York City, with the family needing to travel there to retrieve it. And of course, hijinks ensue, taking place in various New York landmarks, one of which is the Twin Towers. So it's not a shocker that, while the attack was still very fresh to people, Fox wisely decided to quietly pull the episode from rebroadcasting. Now, obviously, the scenes in the episode where Homer is in and around the Twin Towers was not in poor taste, but nonetheless, it was a haunting reminder. Not to mention, before the family even gets to the city, there's a now infamous eerie coincidence, which can be seen here. And from this, a lot of tasteless claims started sprouting out about The Simpsons was somehow warning people of the future attack, or that it was a part of this Simpsons predicting stuff. Either way, it's really absurd and has no basis in any kind of logic. Later on, the episode would be put back into syndication, but depending on the location of the broadcast, had scenes with Homer at the tower all removed. Now, I did watch the episode myself, on Disney Plus, and I'm happy to confirm that it is, at least in the US. I don't know about any other place, but in the US on Disney Plus, it is not only available to watch, but it is completely uncensored. But you can also see it uncensored on the season 9 DVD. Our final entry is something of a Simpsons tradition. That is the famed Yellow family traveling to another country and, enjoying the rich and diverse wonders that they have to offer. From cultural values to political figures, nothing and no one is safe from the family's savagely funny or just plain savage satirical takes. So it's no wonder that every time the creators have the fictional characters visit a new country, there's always controversy. Japan was the target in the season 10 episode 30 Minutes Over Tokyo. While the overall episode doesn't exactly portray the country in the best light, there are a few key scenes that really stood out to the Japanese censors. One such scene implies that the Hello Kitty factory is actually made from burning cats alive. Sticking in the pop culture realm, a scene depicting the Simpsons having seizures after watching an anime cartoon, which of course is a reference to an infamous episode of Pokemon, which actually caused some kids to have epileptic seizures caused by the strobing lights, though doing a little bit of digging, the number of cases is widely debated. Still, the country didn't find making light of this incident in good taste. Currently, the episode can be viewed on Disney Plus in the US, but not on Disney Plus Japan. Of course, you can view the episode on any VOD platform in the US. The various receptions of The Simpsons across the world, I just find incredibly fascinating, like the complex interplay between the media and the strongly held cultural beliefs of different countries. As audiences become more global, the conversation around censorship and media standards continues to evolve, highlighting the importance of understanding and respecting different cultural perspectives. Whether viewed as harmless comedy or a provocative critique, The Simpsons remains a highly entertaining and interesting case study in the global landscape of adult animation. So there are of course many other examples, but I wanted to, just for time's sake, to limit my scope to just seasons 1 through 10. However, if this video does well and y'all like it, please chime in the comment. I would absolutely love to do a follow-up because this was such a fun video to research, and The Simpsons has always been such a nostalgic show for me, and I know it's like that for a lot of other people. As always, my information sources are linked in the description, and I always like to be very transparent about where I get my information. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Chime in the comments. Let me know what y'all think of some of these censors. Were they being a little bit too sensitive? Do you think The Simpsons maybe went a little bit too far? Or maybe just tell me what your favorite Simpsons episode is. Also, hey, while you're here, please check out some of these other videos, and I will see y'all in the next one.